It's a pretty cold, miserable day, but that doesn't stop me from getting out for a walk. And I was out for a walk earlier, going down to Biedronka, which is just over there, doing the week shopping. And I thought to myself, I wonder what it's like up there at the moment. So why don't I go and find out? Today I'm going to walk from here all the way to over there, as far as you can see. With Closely Observed World, I'm Christopher Walker. Join me for this walk. So a recent comment on the channel asked if I'd ever watched another YouTube channel called Bold and Bankrupt. Of course I have. Where do you think I get half the ideas from for this channel? Although there are a few key differences. So on the one hand you've got Bold and Bankrupt, where you've got this rather charismatic Englishman who speaks faultless Russian, goes off and explores the former Soviet Union, and has all of these crazy adventures and gets himself into trouble, meets lots of people, talks to lots of people, and makes nice, polished YouTube videos for mass consumption, has millions of subscribers, and gets hundreds and thousands of views for every video he uploads. So that's on the one hand. And on the other hand, you've got me, where I make videos where I go out for a walk. So I think you can agree that there are probably plenty of similarities. I think the main thing though is we both enjoy what we do. That's it. That's good enough for me. So take for example today. What am I doing today? Well, it's a grey, slightly rainy day. I might need to put my hood up soon and pack the pocket 2 away. I don't want to get it wet. It's not waterproof. And I'm going to go for a walk from where I started to where I could see to. And I've got my Garmin calculating the GPS so I can see the route later that I took, and I can also see how many kilometers I've walked for. I don't expect to meet many people along the way. I certainly don't expect to interact with many people. I should probably put my mask on in a second because I'm going through this area and this is where the police station is. So if you'll excuse me for a minute. So you might be wondering why I bother. And I suppose it's a fair question. So I started there and I'm going to finish there, wherever there happens to be. And I want to walk there, mostly for my own satisfaction. Now any other person might think to get in their car. If you want to see what's over there, you get in a car and you drive there. But you miss out on a couple of things there that I think are quite important. And the first of those being, in a car, you don't tend to get to see all the things along the way. In a car, you've got to focus on your driving, focus on the road, so you don't get to really see things that you would otherwise miss. So that's mainly the reason I like to walk to different places. The exercise is a big factor as well. But you feel more of a sense of accomplishment when you reach the end, when you reach that target. I felt really self-satisfied when I walked all the way from Bielsko to Andrehov in a recent video. There wasn't very much to see in Andrehov, and a lot of people asked me why I'd done it. Well, to quote somebody a little bit more famous than me, I did it because it's there. Same for this walk really. So let's see what we see along the way, shall we? walking to satisfy your curiosity is one of the best little habits that you can develop. Because if you have that habit, if you have that inclination, you'll never really know a day of boredom in your life. It can really make an enormous difference to you. Because if you ever sit at home thinking there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, all you need to do is to step outside, orient yourself in a particular direction and ask yourself, what's over there? What will I see along the way? And then go. That's all I'm doing today. There's nothing special about it, and yet it's going to give me an enormous sense of satisfaction to get to the end, to see what I've seen, to count the kilometres. It's always fun. My watch just beeped, so I've done 1 kilometre so far, which after a couple of days stuck inside working and avoiding the bad weather, that's quite nice. You get to see things that you didn't know were there. I'm here passing through a little area of woodland. The sun is trying its best to get through, and I get to see things like this up here. Don't think I've seen this before. It's nice, and I'll show you. Coming back to the differences between me and Bold and Bankrupt, I guess Bold and Bankrupt, he would have gone up and started a conversation with them, said something about Gopniks maybe. Not quite there yet, what with the pandemic still raging. We've got cases in their thousands still. Much as I'd like to go up and start talking to people and practicing my Polish, I don't think now is the time for it. Let's take a look at this though. It's a very nice little bit of the river. We've had a lot of rain recently, so I guess that would explain why the river is so high. Let's go and take a look. You have to respect YouTubers who are able to keep talking and talking without ever getting particularly dull along the way. They always seem to think of something to say. I'm not sure if I have that skill, but one of the good things about walking everywhere like this is that it gives you time to think, and when you're thinking you can think up something to say. And I suppose one thing that I want to say is that I've often wondered what's better, to walk alone or to walk with other people so you have someone to talk to. What do you reckon? I'll answer that question in a few minutes. I'm going to give it more thought first. But if you have any thoughts about the matter, do leave them in the comments below. Really interested to know what you think. Is it better to walk alone or in company? I'm up in the Cygański Las area. Cygański meaning gypsy, Las meaning forest. Don't think there are ever any gypsies up here, but that's what the name is. We've got some lovely old Polish architecture here. Let me show you. That is nice. Just imagine buying that when I become a wealthy man of letters one day, doing it up. Imagine converting the upstairs part, that room just there, that's where I'd study and write and have the desk facing the window. That's it, that's the place for me. So let's think a bit about that question then, to walk alone or to walk with somebody. I suppose really it's win-win. It's in favour of walking alone. You have what Henry David Thoreau once said, which was, the man who goes alone can leave today. The man who goes with someone must wait for the other to be ready. I think that's more or less what he said. Forgive me if I'm misquoting him, but you get the sense of it. So if you fancy a spontaneous walk sometime, if you're ready, no one else is, you go. If you want to set off at 7 o'clock in the morning, like I did in the case of my walk to Anderhof, you do that. You just pack a bag and go. Attendant to that, really, it's one of the other big advantages of walking solo, which is that all the responsibility is on your shoulders. And if you don't see anything interesting, or the walk turns out to be dull, insipid, or tedious because it's hard work, well, you haven't forced anyone else to get through it with you. You've done it all for yourself. There's also the point in favour of introspection, and I'm a big fan of introspection. I had it forced upon me as a younger person, as in I didn't have very many friends. So you get to know yourself pretty well. You get to appreciate your own company. So walking solo is good practice for that, and it gives you a bit of time to put your thoughts in order. You have nobody to answer to you but yourself. So those are all good reasons why a solo walk might sometimes be preferable. But what about the other side? Well, of course, by far and away the biggest disadvantage of walking with somebody is that sense of compromise. You come to a fork in the road, you feel like going to the left, they want to go to the right. You've got to go one way or the other. You might not go the way that you would hope for yourself. Likewise, you might find that your partner starts to struggle after 7 or 8 kilometres and wants to head home, call it quits, but you're only just getting started. Compromise. But putting that to one side, there are of course many advantages to walking with somebody. There is of course the companionship that it offers. Sometimes on a particularly long walk, I start to feel a little bit bored of my own company, I suppose. You know, there's only so much thinking a person can do before they don't wish to think anymore. But then that's why I take headphones and I have mobile internet. No, if you're walking with somebody, they can prove good company. You can talk about things. It works on your social skills. I had a lovely walk a couple of months ago with my wife. We went to the wooden church of St. Barbara that I've shown you in a previous video, and around in that area. And I think it was on that walk that we basically reminisced about the different places that we'd lived in our lives, all the different houses and apartments that we'd called home. So it was quite nice to share all those experiences with somebody. So we had a very nice walk. and of course it brought us more together. I've had great walks with my friends Emil and Angelo and Nick. If you're in a larger group though, there can be problems of mixing, as you might find at a party, for example. So you need to be in the right frame of mind. You also need to understand how these things work. So if you're going for a walk of a few hours with a group, you have to try not to monopolize one person's attention. So social dynamics certainly play a bigger role, and I've never been very good at that sort of management. Also, walking with others, you have to bear in mind their pace, which is something that I didn't really think about before, but it's quite obvious now that I give it some consideration. I'm used to walking at one particular speed, so I love going for a walk with my daughters, but I find it a lot easier to walk next to my daughter Susie sometimes than Matilda, because Matilda is younger, she's shorter, she has a shorter stride, so I have to moderate my own, and sometimes I forget to, and I find that I'm pulling her along a little bit, which is very unfair of me. So Matilda, if you're watching this in the future, I'm sorry. I don't mean to drag you along. You're doing the best you can, and I love you for it. But I wouldn't miss those walks for the world. If I had the choice between walking solo and walking with my wife and 2 girls, I'd definitely go for that. At least every now and again, certainly. Because I get to spend more time with them. And it's quality time. It's exercise, it's refreshing. We talk about things that we wouldn't otherwise talk about, because you don't tend to talk about things if you're just sitting in front of the TV. You watch the TV. So it gives them a chance in the wide open expanses of silence that otherwise await us to talk about what they want to talk about. And I think that's very important for them too. So if you're in a family situation, I suppose getting the right balance is important. Solo walks are great, but time with your family definitely is as well. So what's the conclusion then? Better to walk alone or with others? Well, obviously, it all depends on the situation. I'm glad I'm out by myself today because the weather isn't much fun, and I have a feeling that if I was with others, they'd be seeking shelter by now. They might say, let's just give it a miss for today, let's write it off. I can keep going because it's only my own legs that are at stake. If I get wet, so be it. Doesn't really matter. But if the weather was a bit better, it would be much more preferable for me to go with other people and to enjoy their company. So next time, hopefully, I'll be making videos like that. I definitely want to get other people involved in these videos, because I'm sure after a while you'll start to grow tired of my performances. Would that be the word? Rambles? I could have called this channel The Rambling Man, really, couldn't I? That would have worked quite well. I like names that work in 2 ways. Like that old classic Death Becomes Her. That's a brilliant title for a film, because it's got a nice ring to it, but it's also very clever in that it works 2 ways. She's dead, death becomes her, but also it seems to suit her. Oh, this death is rather becoming on you. So I like that. Rambling Man would work because I walk a lot and this whole channel is about me walking. But above and beyond that, I like to ramble on and on and on, don't I, with these monologues. If I get some other people involved in the channel, I'll have someone else to talk to. You can take a break from listening to this voice and get a different one to listen to instead. Behind me, up that way, we have the mountains. Shinjonia is up that way. There's a cable car there. There's a bus coming down towards me now from that area. And everywhere I look, it's dark. It's getting darker. I've overshot the church that I initially picked out as my target for this walk. I was enjoying watching the little cascades of water in the river over there so much. I just didn't want to turn off that particular road, so I didn't. So I'm now going to head back this way, get a photo and a video of the church next to the main hospital, and then I'm going to head back home. Because I don't really want to get wet if I can avoid it. And if it is going to rain, it's going to rain quite a lot, I imagine. And whilst that's generally not a terrible thing, I've just realised I've been in this country for too long. I'm losing my Englishness. I left home in this weather with no umbrella. What's becoming of me? Well, I'll check in once more to cap off this little video and this walk, and I'll show you where I ended up, and I'll report on the kilometres covered so far. So, see you in a minute. So this is the church that I could see from there to Biedronka, quite close to where I live. I've walked all the way up here just for the sake of walking up here, but it's been a lovely walk. Really enjoyed it, and I thank you for coming along to keep me company, since this was another of my solo walks. My watch is telling me that I've done just over 5.5 kilometers, which I think is perfectly respectable. It's not an enormous distance, but I can still feel a lot of pain in my ankle after the little slip and slide I went on the slopes near to Bielsko on the way to Andrehov a week and a half ago. Ankles always take a long time to heal. Hopefully it'll get better soon, because I quite like my chances with the weather in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to get out a bit more and get a bit further afield than just 5.5 kilometers. But we'll see how it goes. But anyway, it's been a fun walk. I've enjoyed myself. I hope you didn't mind having to listen to me too much. And on that, see you next time. Bye bye.